Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about OBS. That's right. This video's been long awaited. I know, I've been busy. I apologize guys. But now it's the right time to do it. This is going to be a very basic intro to OBS. How to set it up when you first get it. If you have any questions, don't forget to put them down below and I will do a follow-up video as soon as I can. By the way, if you're new around here, I'm Morgan Zed and I do content creation, live streaming and unboxing videos. Now, without wasting any time, grab a cuppa, find a comfy seat, let's do this. Alright, so when you first open up OBS, it would look something like this. So first things first, let's go have a look at the settings. So at the top left, File, Settings. First one, language, you pick your language. The theme, there are a few, pick one. One thing that I highly recommend is to turn off source alignment snapping. It will be enabled by default. Turn it off because otherwise it will snap stuff into place for you and you can't do small adjustments. And it's something very painful. Next up, stream. At the top, you will see that I picked live push, but you put your Twitch, you log in with your YouTube, Restream, whatever you use, and some services will only let you put in the stream key. How do you find the stream key? You go on the website of the service that you use, you log in and you go on your creator dashboard. In your settings part of your account, and there will be a place where your stream key is saved. Do not share it with anyone because it's personal. What's going to happen if you share it? Someone else can push video into your channel and they could be pushing anything, something that can get you potentially banned, so be very careful. Next up, output. You will find it as simple, but I highly recommend at the top to click on simple and move it to advanced, because that's how you do fine tuning and you can actually find the best settings for your PC. Now, if you have a GTX, out of my head is 1030 or higher, you have access to NVENC. If you have an older GPU, you may only have X264. The difference is that with X264, you're using your CPU. With NVIDIA NVENC, you use the encoder inbuilt in your graphics card. So that won't affect so much the performance because the GPUs, the latest GPUs, they have a section dedicated to encoding, basically for streaming, right? For streaming and recording. That doesn't affect the power or the actual output of the GPU. So if you have that option, pick it. Now, when it comes to the encoder settings, you want to make sure that the rate control is always CBR, which means constant bit rate. So it's always that. Yes, it may fluctuate a tiny bit, but it will be about that. Don't worry about the rest unless you have a 40 series graphics card. If you don't have a 40 series graphics card and you want tips and tricks on how to take the best out of your GPU, leave it down below in the comments and I'll make a video. Next up, bitrate. As you can see on the screen, it depends on the upload of your provider. Do not think, not the download, the upload. I have an upload speed of 100 megabytes per second, so I am using 10,000 kilobytes, which means 10 megabytes per second. I just do it to make sure that I have a steady stream or a steady recording. I could push it higher. So how do you know how much bit rate you can use? You take the upload speed that your provider gives you. So in this case, with me, it will be 100 megabytes per second divided by 2. So potentially I could be streaming at about 50,000 kilobytes per second. That said, I do not recommend it, right? Because it will be very CPU intensive, and also most of the platforms that you push your content to, like Twitch, like Trovo, like Kick, they do not support above a certain threshold. On the top of my head, Twitch for affiliate is 6 megabytes per second. For partners is 8 megabytes per second. I don't want to say something wrong about Kick because I've only been streaming on Kick, pushing my stream there for a few months, but it will be 6 megabytes per second plus, but it won't be more than 10,000. Trovo is 9,000 maximum, so 9 megabytes per second. YouTube is another story. If you only stream on YouTube, I highly recommend to use a slightly higher bit rate. Not by much, but about those numbers that I put on the screen on the side. Now, keyframe, leave it at 0, so it's automatic. The preset, the slower you go, the better the quality will be, but the more GPU intensive or CPU intensive, in the case that you still use X264, it will be. So I have a pretty good graphics card, so I try to keep it slower. P6 and P7, it's very, very similar. You can't even tell the difference. So P6 is good enough. Tuning, I keep it on high quality because I prefer quality. If you prefer to go low latency or ultra low latency, by any means go for it. Multipass mode, if you have a decent graphics card, I will highly recommend to keep it on 2 passes, quarter resolution. If you have an extremely good graphics card, full resolution. Single pass is not the best. Quarter resolution at 2 passes it's good enough. Profile high, obviously. Don't worry about look ahead. What look ahead is, as you can see on the screen, enable dynamic brief frames. Not all the platforms supports them, so I always keep them off just in case. But I flick on Psycho Visual Tuning, enables encoder settings that optimize the use of the bit rate for increased perceived visual quality, especially in a situation with high motion at cost of increased GPU utilization. This mostly if you do live streams where you play first-person shooters, I recommend to turn it on. Otherwise, you can keep it off. GPU 0, maximum B-frame 2. For recording, if you record videos for YouTube, if you even record shorts, because you can even record shorts with OBS, make sure that the recording format is always MKV, just because, let's say you're recording, right? You recorded 10 minutes of video, your computer shuts off, you lost the whole entire recording if you have it on MP4. So please leave it on MKV, because in case you have any issues and the recording doesn't go through, you will keep the recording until there was an issue with MKV. So make sure that you keep it on. Video encoder, NVIDIA NVENC. If you have a newer GPU, do not worry about AV1 unless you have a 40 series graphics card. And you may not have the HVAC version. The H264 for NVENC is still great. If you know the GPU, you will have only X264, but just use it if you have nothing else available. Same thing, CBR. If you upload, I would recommend to do, if you even do only 1080p, keep it at 10 megabytes per second, because it just looks a bit better. Everything else is basically the same as streaming. Audio bitrate 160, replay buffer. I highly recommend to turn it on. What it does is, if you have something like a Stream Deck or touch portal with a cheap tablet, or even through your phone, you can set up a button that it connects to OBS, and when you enable it, it records the last, in this case I keep it on 30 seconds, but you can put it up to, I don't know, a minute or two. Keep in mind that we use system resources and space. So I see that usually 30 seconds is a good mix. So you should keep it at 30 seconds. Now, with audio, if you have a device like a gutter mics, or you have broad mics, you have a Go XLR or an M Game, a device that use an external application, external software to control audio, you want to make sure that the desktop audio and desktop audio 2 and everything else is disabled. And then as mic auxiliary audio, in this case I have the M Game. If you don't know what that is, I have a video, I will link it up above. So I will go stream, left and right M Game, dual stream. If you want a monitoring device, I'll show you in a bit what does the monitoring device. I have my headset, which is Arctis Pro Wireless, and everything else I leave it as it is. Video. This is where you put your resolution. I usually live stream and record in 1080p. Yes, I do 4K content from time to time, but I export it in 4K once I edit it. But this is where you put your resolution. If you have 1080p, you put 1080p. Otherwise, you're going to drop down. I have an extra wide 1440p screen, so it's giving me the resolution on my screen, 3440 by 1440, or 1280 by 720 if you want to live stream or record in 720, or even lower. And one thing that I always recommend is make sure that the base canvas and the output is the same resolution, because you may encounter problems. I said may because I know people, including myself, that had issues with different resolutions. I know a lot of people that use it with different resolution and they're fine. Take it out however you want. I recommend to keep it on the same resolution, and then that's where you put in the FPS. If you play a first-person shooter game, I would say keep it at 60. Otherwise, you play any other type of game, set it on 30. Or if you only record. Hotkeys, that's where you can set up your macros. So if you use, again, Stream Deck, or you use Touch Portal, or you use another, just even an external keyboard. or your own keyboard as well, because you can put down, for example, I don't know, Control F4 and it does something, and you can set up different actions, so you don't have to go again with your mouse and change things. You can just do it with your keyboard or select the keyboard. Make sure you apply all the settings, because otherwise it will not work. Okay, as you can see, it's picking up on mic. How do you start? So we did the settings now. How do we do everything else? Now, if you go on the scenes, you already have a scene. So you will have at the bottom here, you will have scenes and then sources. Right? So scenes is the group, and the sources is what you put on your canvas. So if you click on the plus, it will let you add application audio capture beta. This is something really great. So if you don't use a Gather Wavelink, if you don't use Voice Meter, if you don't use the Go XLR, if you don't use a software that manages your audio outside of OBS, you can use this to capture the audio from the different apps. Audio input capture, that's sort of the same thing, but application capture works better. Then you have audio output capture, so if you put an input, you put an output. Browser source is when, for example, you use Stream Elements. You do your scene on Stream Elements with all your overlays and everything, and then you click on browser and you add the browser source. As you can see, you got the URL here. You get the URL from Stream Elements. You get the URL from Lumia Stream, whatever service you use to do your overlays. Copy and paste, and it will come up. Cancel. Let's remove it in this case. Color source. You just give color to the background or to a selected area. Display capture is to capture your display. As you can see, it's picking up the monitor that we're using. So if you right click on any source, it gives you all the options. So in this case, just not to have a headache, we do transform and fit the screen. And voila, and you can see everything there. If you select any sources, you will have the eye appearing on the right hand side, and that's to remove from the screen. And then you have the padlock to lock it in place or unlock it if you want to move it around. Now, you can add the game capture. So for example, if you have a game on one of the monitors, you want to capture only the game, that's what you use. I don't have a game loaded up. You can add an image slideshow, media source. Media source can be a video, it can be an overlay, it can be literally anything. Don't worry about I have the On Pro plugin, so I have the alerts and chat and labels. I'm not sponsored by Owned. I do have affiliations with 3 good places where you can get your overlays. I have the link down below. I'm trying out Owned Pro for a year. I did the video about it. If you do want to watch it, just go back on my channel and you will find it there. But this is why they appear in here. You won't have them unless you get the plugin. They do have some free options. Just have a look at the website. If you go on Google and you put Owned, OWN3D, and then you can see all the information right there. Scene. So what we can do is create the scene, as we said before, which is a container, a group, and then that group put it in another scene. I know it's starting to become confusing. I'll give you a practical example. let's say you want to use your camera in different scenes and you want to apply different filters based on the scene that you are. You make more scenes that have the camera, and then you put the filter on top of the scene, not on top of your camera. So if you put the filter on top of your camera, for example, it will be applied on all of the scenes. If you put a filter on the scene, it will only be for that scene. Then you can add text, you can add a video capture device. In this case, it will be your camera or your webcam. I don't know what's going on. This wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, so if you add your video capture device, you select, there you go, hey, I'm here. And you select webcam or whatever device you're connected to. Or for example, you have a 2 PC setup. That's where you add your other computer through the capture card. Okay? And then window capture, it adds the window. So let's transform it, fit the screen. And then if you right click into properties, you'll be able to select which application do you want to go with. I have VLC media player so I can watch what I'm recording. And there you go. So we have VLC, as you can see, or we go back to what I'm recording with. Yes, I only downloaded the Streamlab OBS so I could do this tutorial on the real OBS. I know, this video has been way longer than I thought, and it was very basic. As I said when we first started the video, I'm happy to do more content around OBS, and I will probably do more content around OBS. I just wanted to give you an intro, just because when I first started, there was nothing like this. Like, I had to figure out basically OBS by myself. Yes, now there are a lot of tutorials, there are a lot of people that have done OBS videos. I try to give you as fast as compact as I can all the information instead of you watching multiple videos, just going through step by step what you can do with each selection, and try to save you time by doing one video altogether. Now, I didn't want to go too deep because if you're struggling with the basics, I highly recommend to put a stop to the video, start it again, and go through the whole tutorial again. It's not very easy at first, but once it clicks, guys. There is a lot that you can do with OBS, but let's start with the basics. Okay, there are a lot of plugins for OBS that is unbelievable. That's why I've honestly tried a lot of free and pay versions. I still have XSplit. I tried something called Broadcaster. I don't even remember what was the name. That it gives you, the free trial for a week or a month, and then it starts charging you like $10 a month. And they have a whole platform to stream on as well. Gamecaster, there you go, Gamecaster. But it doesn't work. Like it works, but once you're used to OBS Studio, nothing matches. Yes, Polypop is really good as well. There are other softwares that look similar to OBS, and they have some stuff that you can do inbuilt, like 3D and lower thirds. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but let's say other features, but they're all heavy. One of the very good things about OBS Studio is that you have a very, very light program that has a lot of plugins, so a lot of functionality, but it won't affect a lot your CPU. As you saw before, I'm using Streamlabs desktop, I think it's called nowadays, to record this, because even though it's bad, like it is an OBS Studio ripoff, where they added a lot of junk onto it that most of it you don't need it, but it's just to give you the full-on experience. And if you don't have a powerful computer, it will slow down your stream by a lot. And the only reason why I used it is so I could record this OBS tutorial. Anyway, enough painting. If this video has helped you even a tiny bit, make sure you pop the like button. That way YouTube will share this video a lot more. If you have any question, put them down below in the comments, or even just your favorite emoji. It increases the engagement of the video, so it still helps me, and it's free. I also have an announcement. As you know, I've been live streaming once a week at least for the past, well, since 2021. I'm taking a break from live streaming for a little while. I'm still gonna be doing YouTube videos, but my mental health is getting in the way. Yes, we all have something. So I still wanna do YouTube because I care about you guys. I know you're not a lot, but I still care about you guys, and also it helps my flow. It keeps me sane doing YouTube, you know what I mean? So I'll still be doing YouTube. You still can expect a video every Sunday, midnight between Saturday and Sunday, London time, England time, just in the middle of what, 00. Anyway, until next week, happy creating.